All right, welcome back to a post game show to get you in the know. We are talking about a loss again, unfortunately. Saints falls to the Falcons 15-24. It felt like the Saints had every opportunity to find a way to win this game, and they did not. I don't really know at this point what's got to give for the Saints in order for them to make some changes, but definitely feels like based on some of the reactions around the league, other coaches, offensive coordinators, guys getting fired. It just feels like we have to do something because right now the status quo is just not good enough to win in a very uh, abysmal NFC South. So again, Saints fell to the Falcons 15-24. The Falcons will take first place in the NFC South as they hold the tiebreaker on top of holding a better divisional record over the Saints. It's not completely over for the Saints in regards to playoff opportunity as we do play the Falcons again towards the end of the season. So assuming that the Saints win some games, limp to the finish line, we could take that game from the Falcons. And if we have a better record than them, at the end of it all, then, we'll have a chance to get into the playoffs. And at that point, you don't really know what's going to happen in the playoffs. That's kind of the fun thing about the NFL. But, I think we've seen enough from this team to know that we would likely not make a deep run in the playoffs. So, with that being said, we'll kind of go over some quick stats. Derek Carr did put up 304 yards, but all he had was an interception for the other team, as that pick six happened for a 96-yard return. Only one sack for 8 yards. It came at kind of a crucial point. But nonetheless, those are some upticks as far as the offensive line blocking and things like that seemed a little bit better. Alvin Kamara, just a great day all around, 119 total yards. He averaged 4.6 yards on the ground. He had a long of 16. And then in passing, he averaged 12 and a half yards per game. So it's one of those things where it feels like, you keep your stars engaged, right? There's not a whole lot of stars around the league or around the offense right now for the Saints with all the injuries that they had, especially coming in, having Michael Thomas already out. We got Brandon here saying at least you don't have Todd Bowles. Um, Someone else besides keeping it consistent. The in-house thing was kind of the logic, I think, with Dennis Allen. Todd Bowles, not a great upgrade at all for anyone, especially when you lose someone like Tom Brady. And the Saints are kind of in the same situation. You lose Sean Payton, you lose your head coach. You go with somebody who feels like a safe bet. But I definitely think that the Saints should have went after somebody like Doug Peterson versus keeping it consistent. You kind of knew you were going to need a new offense and new pieces with losing Drew Brees. But I digress to that point. Yeah, I guess we will be happy that we're one game ahead of the Bucks and Todd Bowles over there. So, but getting to some other stats, Taysom Hill had a pretty decent ground game. There was a couple times where it felt like they had an answer for him, but nonetheless, it was nice to see that the Saints at least involved him some. He got 7 carries, which I saw on Twitter people were saying if he doesn't get 7 or 8 carries, we riot. So I definitely see that coming. I'm not going to make excuse for injuries. This was a winnable game, injuries aside. But it just feels like the Saints went into the bye week relatively healthy, and now we're coming out of the bye week. Michael Thomas, IR. Marshall Lattimore, IR. Bowden went out once. Rashid went out a bunch of times, and eventually, we lost him. Lost an offensive lineman, lost our center. Remchek came back. Injuries all over the place. I feel like if I try to list them all, I would miss one, and that's just kind of the day it was for the Saints. To the point where, we had a guy standing on the outside of the injury tent and waiting to go in. Olave out with concussion. Jawan Johnson went into the concussion protocol briefly. So, it's definitely something. We got Brandon back. Yeah, no, absolutely. The boats are definitely sinking. I love the play on words there for the Bucks. I don't know if that was intentional, but yeah, the Saints are falling from sainthood, and the Buccaneers are definitely sinking that boat. So, um, I don't know much else what to say. It felt like we mostly held the Falcons in check. I know they scored 24 points, but 7 of those points, if you take away that Derek Carr interception, it's 15-17, and the Saints only need that Blake Rupe field goal at the end to win the game. So we can talk about that all day. It just felt like the Falcons kind of had our number every time. It felt like we kind of made that turn, especially the Taysom Hill fumble. I think that was inside the 5-yard line. That's just a killer for any team. And it definitely killed the momentum that the Saints have. I think the ball can carry a certain amount of energy, whether you're talking whatever sport you're talking, and that ball was just didn't have a lot of energy for either side. It just felt like it deflated for energy for us towards those moments where we needed it most. I'll kind of recap the scores around the league. We have the Titans beating the Panthers for the divisional game there. We have the Colts beating the Buccaneers, another divisional game for us there. So the Buccaneers fall to 4-7. Titans beating the Panthers, so the Panthers fall to 1-10. Steelers beat the Bengals without Joe Burrow. Giants found a way with Tommy DeVito to beat the Patriots and improve to 4-8. A lot of football this week in general. Started on Thursday, ran Friday, took Saturday off, and bounced back into Sunday here for Sunday football. But we had the 49ers. They won again. No big surprise there. Cowboys are still just rolling. Dak Prescott with 4 touchdowns and over 300 yards. Was 45-10 on the Commanders. I know it's the Commanders, but still, that's a pretty gnarly football score these days. And then other than that, Packers found a way to win against the Lions. The Lions are I don't know if they're necessarily reeling. It felt like Golf had a good game, but just kind of made some key mistakes when it mattered the most. So, and love having a career high with 3 touchdown passes that game. Definitely kind of solidified that for them. And, you still don't know with the Jets. They're 4-7, and it's Aaron Rodgers coming back. I don't know if that's even feasible at this point for the Jets later in the season there. I misspoke. I think earlier I said Packers, but of course, we a lot of drama surrounding that and him getting over to the Jets. So earlier, my 2 anytime touchdown scores, I had A.T. Perry for the Saints for the game that we were watching, and I think he kind of burned his bridge early on, not running that route strong to start the play. It was obviously a dead play, but as we learned from Michael Thomas, that sometimes just because you're not a part of the play doesn't mean that you don't contribute to the play. And when you're choosing not to run that route to the outside, you allow the safety or the linebacker or whoever's in the middle to sit down and just stay where they're at. And even your corner, the guy that's covering you is right there next to the tight end in that play. So you just got to run your routes. I think he burned that bridge early, and Carr didn't really look his way for most of the game after that. I think he finished with 1 reception. So that one got burned, but I said that I liked Titans Derrick Henry for a touchdown today. He was plus 150, I think, before the game, and he got 2. So if you took him for 2, even better. If you didn't like Perry and you were like, yeah, I'll go 2 up on Derrick Henry here, definitely worked out. But nonetheless, again, just kind of recapping, Saints fell to the Falcons 15-24. They will go to second place in the NFC South. Buccaneers are on our tail at 4-7, and then the Panthers are pretty well out of it at this point at 1-10. Atlanta Falcons sit at top of the NFC South division, and head-to-head currently belongs to them. The rest of the season can really go both ways at this point. So, again, this was the show to get you in the know. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next week.